Number 1. So yesterday, during the lunch rush, I found myself in a crowded deli parking lot. Went in, got my sandwich, got a Snapple, got out. I notice, as I'm getting to my car, that the vehicle which was originally in the spot next to mine had left. And the new car had maybe left a few inches of space between us. The driver was still in the seat though. "Hey, sorry, but your car is really close. Do you think you could back out and let me pull out, and then go back in?" I was met with silence. I waved and said, "Hello?" But the guy ignores me. I resign myself to the fact it's going to be a tight squeeze. I couldn't get in through the passenger door easily either. I suck in all my stomach, go through to open the door. Tap. Obviously, there was nowhere for me to open my door without touching his car. So I did it as gently as possible, looked at him and mouthed, "Sorry," figuring, since he hadn't been paying attention to me much anyways, he wouldn't mind. Dead wrong. The guy starts screaming his head off about how I've ruined his car, cursing me out. I frantically stammer, sorry, and back out, leaving the lot. Except, he pulled out and followed me. Followed me for 20 minutes, pulling up next to my car and cursing, taking pictures of my plates. Thought I was going to have to call the cops, but he suddenly turned left behind me, and that was that. So I guess we'll see what's coming. But guy in the parking lot, let's hopefully not meet again. Number 2. My husband works night shifts sometimes. His shifts rotate 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. and 7 p.m. to 9 a.m. That sort of thing. I wasn't too bothered by it until the other night. We live in a 4-plex, 1 beside and 2 behind, all on a single level. Since I'm not working yet, I'm pretty familiar with the comings and goings of my neighbours. Heck, I even know what everyone's car sounds like. It was probably just after midnight, and I was talking to some friends over Skype, when I hear the door handle jiggle. At first, I thought maybe my husband was home early, and got up to greet him, then quickly realised I hadn't heard his work boots on the gravel, or his car. I went really still and kept listening, just in case I was mistaken. Finally, I yelled, "Hello?" Just silence. Then I heard something in the lock. My husband likes me to be protected, so he bought us a couple of guns. I grabbed a shotgun and pumped it once. It's loud enough without actually putting ammo in that. You know what it is. Then I yelled, "I have a gun and I know how to use it. Get lost before I call the police." Big, heavy footsteps ran off across our gravelled lot, and I stayed up the remainder of the night until the sun came up. Then I finally fell asleep. My husband came home later that morning and was worried when he found me in bed at 11 a.m. but let me sleep a little longer once I explained what happened. The next day he had off, so we went to visit some friends of his. When we got back, we discovered the pumpkins I had next to the stoop were all knocked over, like someone was looking for a key. Husband did a quick sweep of the house before we went in, but we're looking for a new place now. So, person trying to break into our place, let's not meet. Number 3. I'm a 17-year-old girl and I live in a rural area. My house is almost entirely visible from the road. I'm typing this almost exactly 30 minutes after it happened, and I'm still shaking. At 5 a.m, 30 minutes ago, I was sleeping deeply and someone slowly opened my bedroom window. My bed is literally right next to the window, so I can open and close it. I was sleeping, and I could hear my window slowly opening upwards. It's old and heavy, and I thought I was dreaming. Or was a possum, because they live on the tree outside. It's 5 a.m, and it's getting light out about this time. My bedroom is isolated and at the back of the house, but there is a complete driveway and full access to it there. And holy shit, I realise it's a person opening the window. I look through my makeshift curtain and I say, "What the fuck?" And there's a figure outside my window and they slam it down quickly when they realise there's a person less than a metre from them, right next to my face. I can see the figure because there is still some light, but nothing else. I start yelling and I go to get my parents. They check the area, but they can't see any cars or people as it's covered in trees. They're stressed. All in the meanwhile, I think I'm crazy. How could this have happened? Was I dreaming? But my curtain is tucked under the window and my cat is going crazy. And I know it happened. It was terrifying. I'm sure that they were a thief. We've had some dodgy people around my area before. But I swear, when it happened, I thought it was a ghost or something. I was terrified because I've been reading a lot of this sub and the subreddit No Sleep. Now I have to get ready for school. My parents are going to put a lock on my window. Number 4. This is a story my dad told me not too long ago about my grandpa and how he came extremely close to being murdered. My grandpa used to be a pastor at a local church, and one night when he was driving home from a service and was still wearing his robes and collar, he saw a hitchhiker at the side of the road and decided to pull over and pick him up, like he usually would when he saw a hitchhiker. He pulled over and the man got in. The man was wearing overalls and was also carrying an old metal lunchbox with him. My grandpa assumed that he was a construction worker. He did not have a ride home after shift. My grandpa and him started to converse and eventually arrived at the man's destination. The man got out and thanked my grandpa for the ride. A few days later, my grandpa was talking to his neighbour. At one point in the conversation, she brought up a story she had seen on the news about a man who would get rides from people by hitchhiking. Then, when he would reach his destination, he would take a knife out of an old metal lunchbox and kill the person driving. My grandpa almost fainted after hearing this news. He assumed the only reason he was alive and talking to her was because of his robes and collar he was wearing. Number 5. I was 15 and my brother was 13 at the time we moved into our new home. We had woods behind our new home, separated from our yard by just a 4-foot tall fence. Me and my brother went into the woods to adventure, but we never went far enough to where we could not see our home anymore. My stepfather, who lived with us, told me and my brother an old man complained about us leaving trash in the woods. We'd never brought trash into the woods, nor did he probably own any of the woods. One day, we went into the woods the farthest we've ever been, adventuring as usual. When we no longer saw our home, we looked into the deep woods and saw a shadow behind a tree. The noise we heard next haunts both of our dreams. We heard a loud laugh of a clown that sounded straight out of the movie It. We ran as fast as we could and jumped our short fence and told our mother what happened. She did not believe us, but to this day, when I get home in the dead of night, and the only light is from the porch and barely illuminates the fence, I swear I feel the sense of being watched as I unlock the door and enter my home. Mysterious clown figure, let's not meet. Number 6. First, I want to say that my English is really bad, so please excuse that. I was 12 years old when my class went on project days. I was very excited about the next few days, but after one day spending there, I got ill. While my classmates left the hotel, I had to stay. After some boring hours, I decided to go out of my room and look around in the hotel. When I was in the lobby, I noticed that nobody was there. Then suddenly, some guy came into the lobby. He glanced at me and began to talk to me. He asked me what I was doing here in the lobby, and I told him that my classmates were gone and I did not feel well, so I stayed. He looked at me for a few seconds. He seemed very nice, but then he asked me a question that I did not expect. He asked me if I was completely alone and if I could show him where my room is. Then I was about to panic, but luckily I stayed calm and said to him that in fact I wasn't alone in my room and that my classmate would return in a few minutes. Then, suddenly, some other guy came into the lobby, and the creepy guy I was talking to went out of the lobby without saying anything. After that moment, I went back into my room and waited until my class returned. To be fair, I have to say that I am not completely sure if the guy really wanted to harm me, but I will not forget his face. Number 7. This was a little less than a year back. It's a pretty well-known fact in my city not to be out at night alone with our murder rates. Of course, my managers assigned me late nights all week during the 3rd week in November. We were on daylight savings at that point, so the sun was set around 5, way before I had to walk home at 11. On Monday, all went smoothly until I was 4 blocks away from my apartment. A man was leaning against the wall on the other side of the street, just out of the light from a streetlight. I ignored him, as women in college are told to do. He watched me until he thought I was far enough away, then followed me on the other side of the street. I tried to stay calm as I walked into my apartment. I have a doorman, I thought to myself, trying not to panic. I thought it was a one-time incident until every night that week, he would move closer and closer to my apartment when he was waiting for me. On Friday, he was right in front of my apartment. I was close enough to tell that he was over 6 foot, muscular, and someone I could not outrun. He had seen me at this point, so I couldn't sneak away. As he walked towards me, I saw a miracle of fate. A woman drove up to me and asked for directions. The man hesitated for a second before turning and walking away. I don't understand why he was so persistent, but then just give up. But I'm glad he did. I haven't seen him or the woman since. Number 8. One day, when I was about 5 or 6 years old, I was at the shopping centre with my mother and grandmother. While they were in the supermarket, I was outside on the pavement, playing with a boy about my own age. I think his mother owned a store there. While we were playing, a young woman in her early 20s walked past us and gave us a dirty look. It also kind of looked to me like she said something, but I couldn't quite make it out. However, my friend did hear what she muttered. He must have had super good hearing. He cried. She said, "I'm going to put you in a sack." Being a little kid who was afraid of just about everything, I freaked out. This all happened around 35 years ago, so my memory is a bit spotty. But somehow I managed to locate the vehicle of the gang. It was a large and very creepy looking van. I clearly recall standing in front of the van, looking up at the windshield. What I saw still weirds me out to this day. In the front seat were 3 people. They were all bent over with their faces behind the dashboard, but I could see the top of their heads. The guy in the centre, who appeared to be the leader, was wearing a phony-looking red wig, and in one he clutched a large black sack. I can't recall what the other two weirdos looked like, but all three of them were swaying from side to side in unison. Petrified, I ran and grabbed my grandmother and brought her to the van. She didn't seem very concerned and just kept saying, "It's a wig, he's wearing a wig." To this day, I have no idea who those people were. Number 9. I recently started working my first job, and it just so happens to be about 5 minutes from a grocery store, so I usually go there for lunch. See, at the store near my job, there's a crane game along with a few soda machines, and a bench near the entrance. I usually sit on the bench to watch people while I eat. However, something happened yesterday that's making me think twice. I just finished eating and was about to throw my trash into the bin when I heard someone walking up behind me. "Excuse me, miss," the person said. "Are you good at the crane machine game?" I figured it was an innocent question enough, so I told him that I was pretty bad at them. Apparently, he didn't seem to find this a problem, as he continued, "Can you spare $1? I need a watch, but I can't afford." I figured it would be easier to win one instead. I went to hand him the $1 when he bolted over to the crane machine and pointed to said watch. Don't ask me why I decided to entertain him, but I went ahead and tried to win the watch for him. Big surprise, I didn't get it. "Can you try again?" At this point, I was most likely supposed to be heading back to work, and I had spent my last $1 on the game. I truthfully told him this, and he apparently thought the appropriate response was to pull out a pocket knife. I want to say that I did something cool, like talking him out of putting the knife away. Instead, I screamed as loud as I could, in hopes it would draw attention to one of the workers, or maybe a stronger customer that wasn't in danger of being stabbed, and ran all the way back to work. Wherever you are, crane game guy, I hope you got your watch without having to stab anyone. Number 10. This still haunts me to this day. I remember it pretty vividly, and I consider myself to have a bad memory. When I was 10, my mother needed to go to Walmart to grab some groceries. Being the hard-headed kid I was, I didn't want to go inside, so she let me stay in the car. I was reading a book and listening to music, when all of a sudden, an old beat-up tan car parks next to me. I look over, and it's some guy in his 50s. The guy then opens his car door, and he's completely naked, except for his trench coat. I freak out and lock the doors. He begins to masturbate profusely while staring at me, and I just avoid eye contact. This goes on for about 10 minutes until he finishes and leaves. My mum comes back about 20 minutes later, and I tell her what happened. She is pissed and flags the security officer, but she didn't know English, so I don't think I got it through. My mum never left me alone in the car again until I was in my teens, when I would just stay at home. I also never found out any more information about him. Guy that robbed me of my innocence, let's never meet. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. You can also leave a comment below. All feedback, good or otherwise, is always appreciated. If you have any creepy stories of your own, or have any topics that you would like me to cover, feel free to send them in via any of my social media. You can find all links to my social media in the description below. Until next time guys, make sure you lock your doors, stay safe, and I'll see you next video.